Here I am again, alone. I don't even know where Nikki and Elaine are these days. Wait, what is that? Oh, look at there. Look what the cat drug in. Hmm. What do you have to say for
Wow.
yourself, Miss Nikki? Hmm.
I've been like living my best
Mm-hmm.
life. I'm
I
sorry.
know. Without me. Without
I
me.
have. But you know
Mhm.
what? I told you could come along. You chose not to.
Well, somebody had to run CNC. I mean, who's gonna do the episodes?
We could have done them
They're
while
not
we
gonna
were
do them
out.
themselves.
That's true. And you can't do them from the bar, apparently. Doesn't work
Well,
that way.
no, it's pretty loud over there.
It
Plus, we'll be
is.
slurring our words after a few cocktails, so yeah.
Well, after I have crafted the most amazing cocktail ever, thanks to
Ooh.
my skill set.
Mhm.
Um,
I heard about that one. What is it? And tell us. It'll be here on the screen in just a second, but what is this wonderful cocktail you've concocted?
what I've concocted is the most amazing thing ever. It is a watermelon Red Bull mule. I love a good
Ooh.
mule. I love a ginger beer. But you know what the
Mhm.
main do? I just absolutely love the fizz and that pop, right?
Mm.
So, and I don't even make them in a mule glass anymore. Y'all, I'm addicted. I drink these things out out of my uber giant cup.
Oh my gosh.
And it's look, I'm not even kidding. So they pick on me because I have my Stanley because I'm classy, you know. But
So did
that's
you
my
get,
shot
like,
glass.
that did you get that, like, half off?
I did. It's my shot glass.
Not even a full length Stanley
No,
Cup.
and look what's so funny is so I do green tea shots at the bar when I'm working and stuff, like hanging out, you know. And so this is my green tea shot glass. So
Mm.
if it doesn't fill it up, then I know you didn't make my shot right, which means I'm
Exactly.
gonna end up having to like do it myself.
Mm.
But no, I'm addicted to these watermelon Red Bull mules. So I had to come up with a cocktail to appease our Red Bull vendor.
Mm.
And I was like, guys, give me a minute. And so it's okay, if you want to make it in a mule, not in this, it's 2.5 ounces of any vodka of your choice. I use Tito's, it is my favorite. And
Mm.
then uh 0.75 ounces of lemon juice, half ounce of simple syrup, shake, strain, top with watermelon Red Bull, and a squeeze of lime. You cannot
Mm.
go wrong. It's got a very it
Mm.
has that same fizz as the ginger beer, and it will keep you awake. And trust me, if you're around me, you need all the Red Bull you can get.
Yeah. Um, so, ooh, I guess a little bit about the sponsor that we have, our regular sponsor. You can head over to the Old Tavern, and you perhaps might see Miss Nikki herself slinging those drinks right
You
behind the bar.
will. You will. That is my
Mhm.
home bar, as everybody knows. We also have a wonderful, amazing lunch special that we run every day. Our
Mm.
lunch runs from 11 a.m. until we do it
Till
until we
whenever,
run
yeah.
out. We are hardcore law enforcement friendly. So if you come in, you ask for me, and you're law enforcement, you automatically get a blue line discount. All of our
There
first
you go.
responders get discounts, but we have a blue line blue plate discount for all of my law enforcement and service industry. Look, we have a service industry night for a reason because believe me, we all need it around here. So come check us out. Karaoke is on Wednesday nights. Uh, Thursday night we have the hottest ladies night in town. We run a late night after hours downstairs with the VIPs. And look, happy hours from 3 to 7. That's when you'll find me crafting high end cocktails such as your Manhattans, old fashions, Negronis. Um, with the patio. And if you really want to have a good time, this St. Patrick's Day, March 23rd in Jackson, Mississippi, yours truly will be outside on the patio bartending from sunup to sundown or from sunup the next day, depending on how late we run. We'll have ultraviolet playing on the patio from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And we're going to have a banging ass St. Patrick's Day after party at Old Tavern on George Street, which will be 416 George Street, Jackson, Mississippi. Come see me.
I actually would give pretty much anything just to be there that weekend.
It's so
Unfortunately,
our St.
responsibilities.
Patrick's Day parade is literally the Mardi Gras of Jackson, Mississippi. Like it is the parade, the
Mm,
beats, the partying on the street. It gets, dude, it's pretty fucking wild. I love it. So I'll be out on the
wow.
patio by myself, slinging the best drinks and beer colder than your ex's heart.
Wow. Okay. So let's get into our merch a little bit. As usual, you can always buy us a cocktail. Just click on that QR code and
And
send us a
believe
cocktail.
me, we like cocktails.
Oh, yes, we do. We do. We also like to snuggle up with blankets in the cold days. So,
So that's not even my favorite blanket though. The other
mm,
one is my favorite. And look, huge shout out to Ann. She is our designer for our merch.
mm,
She's killing it. And
yeah,
she's been holding on for us over here since I had to go like slumming, you know.
yeah. She had to go have fun without me, guys. Don't let her lie to
Yeah.
you. It was like
I
all fun and cocktails, and I was just over here slaving away without her. But you guys know that. So,
well,
anyway,
but you did wonderful. So I'm, you know what? Huge shout out for that because quite frankly, I was caught in a mud hole for like 10 hours. And yeah, it was something serious.
mm, well, like I said, you can get some more merch here, Cocktails and Crime coffee mug,
That's what you need
uh,
after you come see me. That's the next morning.
right? We need to get a whole set for you in your house. Cocktail glass with our actual full logo on it. These are actually really vibrant, colorful, you know, products. Like it's not faded. It's really they're beautiful.
Are
But
they I
anyway,
do have one question. Are they dishwasher safe? Because I wanted to order them, but I was scared to.
yes, they are
Because
because
I'm gonna throw them in the
they're not like
dishwasher.
stickers. They're like actually I don't know. They do something crazy on the glass that it does not come off. So,
Okay, cool. I
I
was
mean, I'm
curious
sure
about
like
that.
years from now it could come off, but not right
Yeah.
away. So, yeah. So, uh,
I'm happy to be back. Although we are
yay.
still missing our third leg.
Yeah, I know.
But
Well,
with my life being so hectic
at least
and
we have you back so you can cross her off, but there's this other one here. She's
yeah,
still missing.
so I think what we're gonna try to do, and I'm hoping that now that maybe things are settling out a little bit and I'm gonna be on a more normal schedule,
Mm,
that's why, like we've kinda had to switch and change up our plans a little bit. So I'm hoping that now we'll be able to bring her back in. I'll be back
mhm,
full time and things will maybe be as hectic. So that's the goal. That's the plan.
mhm.
But no, I think you've done great. I really do appreciate it. I love you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for taking over and like handling everything over
Yeah,
here.
it
It's
was fun.
crazy.
Got a lot of views, and I think a lot of people liked some of those cases that I did. So,
They were awesome.
today's case, though, do you want to introduce that one, or do
Oh,
you
I
want me to?
do. I do. I'm so excited. I haven't done this in a while. I'm a little rusty. I don't know if I
Mm,
remember how. So today's case, we're going to be discussing 25-year-old Austin
hair
Harrouff.
off, hair off,
Harrouff.
hair off.
Um, and look, when you and I were talking and you sent me this, and then I like read through, I was like, oh my God, this is
Now, this
wild.
story I'm pretty well versed in. I've done this story for multiple platforms, obviously in my own show and Explain Realms, but I've written it for multiple magazines, and just really dissected it. So I'm pretty well versed in what happened here. Um, but I couldn't wait to do it on this show. Of course,
This is
just really dissecting it with you.
Yeah, this one's wild. I'd never heard of it until you brought it to my attention.
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh, I'll go check it out." And then I did, and I was like, "Well, that took a lot of left turns."
Yeah.
I did not
So
see that coming.
I feel like we just need to put it out there though that there is a trigger warning here. There is I don't even know for lack of better words, there's some cannibalism here in this case. There's a lot of mental illness. Yeah, so if those things are triggering for you, you may not want to watch this episode.
Yeah, this definitely probably won't be the episode that you want to be
Mhm.
in. Honestly, I would say another part of the trigger warning is just the gory facts.
Oh, yeah, just the goriness of it all.
I mean, it's like super gory, but
I think
here we do it
the
all.
first time I came across this, I did, like a research piece for a magazine years ago when this first occurred, and I literally lost sleep for 3 days, and I couldn't eat for, like, 24 hours. It took a minute to really get away from the details, so just
Oh yeah,
FYI out there, viewers,
it's
listeners.
wild.
Yeah, so you wanna take us away or you want me to start?
Well, I guess I can since I haven't been here in a while. Let's see if I still
Yeah,
have
you
it.
probably should, okay?
Let's see if I still let's see if I still have it. Okay. So, first off, let's talk about the fact in the very beginning, before we even get into it, this person was found not guilty by reason of insanity. So let's
Mhm,
just jump right in and go ahead and throw that one out there. Okay. Now this man killed a married couple and attempted to eat one of their faces.
mhm,
Um, Now, from all accounts, Austin Harrouff had a typical upbringing, loving family. Austin's parents, Wade and Mina, divorced in like 2010,
mhm,
but they did co-parent with no major issues. Um,
mhm,
Both did end up having significant others after the divorce. And by the time Austin began his freshman year at the University of Florida, both parents had settled into a new life with their new partners, but still co-parenting
mhm,
from all
mhm,
accounts very
yep,
well.
mhm,
He did primarily live with his mother in Jupiter, Florida. As a high school student, he had your typical student grades, never dropped below a C.
mhm.
He was a football player, was a participant in his high school's international.
Baccalaureate
Yeah,
program, and that took me a minute.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
baccalaureate
we got
program.
her sounding this one out.
Yeah,
But no, like he's your typical teenager, just
mhm,
you
mhm.
know, nothing
Nothing
like
below a C average, which, I mean, it's not the best, but it's not horrible. It's not bad.
um
Mhm,
he would go on to his father was a dentist, his grandfather was a doctor. He had super, from what I gather, great upbringing.
mhm,
um he had a college goal that was, to enroll in university and go into his family's medical footsteps.
mhm,
He wanted to be a pre-med student and earn his doctorate. um
mhm,
But now he did have the creative side. So on top of the fact that he was saying he was going to be a pre-med student, um, he would dream of becoming a songwriter. I mean, I think all of us at
mhm.
some point in our younger years had dreams of something with more creativity than
Hey,
just going to school.
we're still dreaming about being famous podcasters, so
Exactly. That's, I mean, don't we all have
okay.
dreams at some point in our lives?
Mhm,
Um, but no, I mean, he had a goal. He said, I'm going to enroll in med school. I'm going to go pre med. I'm going to do these things. So, and he did. He ended up going to the University of Florida. He enrolled. Um,
mhm,
and so he's a freshman at Florida State in 2016. And in the first few months of his attendance, everything seemed normal. It seemed like it was going really well.
yep,
He was an active member of his fraternity, the Alpha Delta Phi. I know those guys. I had some friends that
mhm,
were Alpha Deltas.
there you
Um,
go.
his grades stayed, B average. That's really good for your.
Actually, for freshman year of college, that's really
Yeah,
damn good.
that's
Yeah,
really good. It seems like
right.
this kid's a typical college student.
Mhm,
Austy Frosty was the nickname that he used on his YouTube channel.
mhm,
And he used the channel to record, freestyle raps and, silly college stuff that, when YouTube first got popular, everybody was recording everything.
right, and
Um,
Nikki, I'm gonna, like, pause you for a minute because, in a few seconds or so, I'm gonna actually play the clips from his YouTube.
um,
What's up, guys? I just want to let you know that I came to a realization of something. I no longer want to follow Arnold or any other bodybuilder. I want to follow myself, I want to actually believe in myself. Not in. I want to learn from other things, other people, other bodybuilders and stuff. But I just know that they're not me. I know what's right for me. I don't need drugs. I know that they can change me. But the thing is, that's not being healthy. Being healthy is what's natural. What comes natural to you? Do you think steroids are natural? Who knows? Who knows? You think steroids would be beneficial? Who knows? But for me, I know that I don't know, but I think that steroids really aren't for me. Honestly. I used to think that I needed steroids to be a bodybuilder, to be this thing, to be this symbol, to be this lie. All I need is really just to learn from everything. I'm learning from all the protein companies. I'm learning from all the bodybuilders. I'm learning what did they do wrong. I'm learning where did they go wrong. What do I think they did wrong? We're all the same though. Peace out. Peace.
Yeah,
Better and
he was talking about
healthier.
okay, and we'll play that here soon.
So I don't, then he used his cell phone, like make notes throughout his
Mhm.
freshman year at Florida State. But his notes more resembled like a to-do list.
Mm.
And like his family would describe him as, even these to-do lists, he was quirky. Like he was
Mhm.
creative, but he was also like your typical frat guy, just, the creative side, like nothing out of the ordinary. That's what to me stands out so much with this case is
Right.
like when we do some of these, normally you're like, yeah, we kind of knew that guy was going to be like a
Yeah,
fucking
you could see it
serial
coming a
killer.
mile away. This
This
one,
guy's like not.
mhm, some people
Um,
would say he was odd, but I mean, I think anybody with a extreme creative streak in them could be described as odd. I mean, I
well,
think if
yeah,
people knew us in our
we do
personal
a
lives, they would think we were odd. But I mean, in order to be creative and do what we do, it takes a little bit of weirdness and a little bit of
well,
oddness too.
that's what I was gonna say. Is like we do a true crime podcast. Like we
Mhm,
research death,
mhm.
like and murder and gore, and that's like that's how we spend our free
It's
time.
bedtime stories for us,
Yeah, like
usually.
I put on ID channel to snuggle up and go to sleep.
Me
Like
too. Got my husband
so,
totally addicted, he can't stop.
it's an addiction. My husband thinks that like he may come home and be my co-star on an episode one day.
Oh, well, we can make that happen. He's our super fan, so
Exactly. But like, I mean, there's a lot of ways you could describe odd. Like, I don't,
Mhm.
I mean, my child is, okay, so our son is about to be 16 years old. Okay.
Mine
And
too, yeah.
when you talk about like odd or creative or whatever, like my kid's into like everything from sports to fucking anime
Mhm.
to true crime. I mean, he loves true crime. Like, I'm going to actually bring him
My
on the show one day and let
And you
him
should.
give
I
a
think I
review.
need to bring mine. Our boys are about the same age, and mine, he really is an odd one. He looks such a sweet little sweet strawberry blonde freckles, but he loves Rob Zombie and he loves his horror movies. Like he's obsessed with them.
Exactly. That's what
So
my kid
yeah,
is.
yeah. His
You
mom
could
would be
call him
like,
all, but like
right.
to be like that one's going to be the serial killer, not so
There's
much.
no way. Yeah.
And that's kind of what this kid like. That's kind of what it makes me think of. They're like, well, they would describe him as odd, okay, or
Right.
a little quirk.
But while we up till this point, we are seeing nothing major out of the ordinary. This oddness with Austin Harrouff becomes increasingly significant. So
Yeah, so it
during
starts to,
that
like, spiral,
where our kids
and
just have that little bit of oddness, this guy has that, and then
he
it
starts,
continues to
like
mhm,
it gets a
become erratic.
little erratic would be the word, yeah.
Mhm,
So, like, during his freshman year at college, friends and family started kinda, like, noticing that he started becoming, like, erratic, and, like, really obsessed with, like, helping others. Barely sleeping, wasn't himself. He went
mhm.
from quirky with some odd tendencies to
Full on erratic, obsessed with helping
extremely
people. Yeah.
erratic behavior, and it's all, like, revolving around helping people, which I would
Mhm,
say would make sense going into the medical field. I would say would make sense. Um, but then during the summer before his second year in college, he goes home for summer break, and while in South Florida with his family, his behavior takes a crazy erratic, like,
mhm,
turn, and just it's like he hits this weird spiral.
mhm.
He's using his phone to document, like, statements, write poetry. Okay, I don't find
Let
that to
me
be
let me
erratic
read
or
one of
odd.
I wanna read one of the particular statements that was written in his phone, okay? "I don't wanna be worshipped, but I know I will be." And in another one, "Keep running even when they say you crazy." Yeah, and then something
You
about his
see, that's
YouTube
like
rap lyrics,
that's like I don't
mhm. His
that those
rap lyrics
statements
even
don't really
got
make
darker.
sense. Yeah, like, and I think that you found, like, some of the lyrics,
Mhm.
um, from that.
It's got a psycho side and a normal side. I've lost my mind. Help me find it. Now, normally, this isn't too crazy. I mean, have you heard some of the rap lyrics
They say,
out
"Have
there
you
these
listened to
days?
Eminem back in the day?"
Right. So you don't think too much of it, but coupled against the erratic behavior, I think everyone should have been looking like, hey, something's wrong. And his mother, Mina, had found his journal and said the rap lyrics and poems she found were disgusting. I don't know if you want to read that one.
So, in what she found, and
Mhm,
I think it's like I said, obviously this show came with a trigger warning for a reason. But I think
mhm.
one of the things that's like significant to note is that in one of the entries that she found that she's like was just vile to her, um, and I wouldn't really call this one vile.
I
I
wouldn't
think that
either. I think this is
this
one
is
of the
a
more tame
normal
ones, but yeah.
teenager thing.
I don't think we included in our show notes the actual disgusting ones because obvious
They
reasons.
were rough,
Yeah, they're really rough. So, but
but
this
this
one you
one
mhm,
it's to me, I would take this one as like a normal teenager thing. What he
mhm,
said or what he wrote was, "What I want is to become more confident and social. I also want to be more well known because right now I feel as though I am unknown." Now, to me, that's a little odd coming from a guy who's got the frat life.
mhm,
He's, from all accounts, pretty popular on campus. Seems that
mhm,
everybody knew him.
mhm.
Um,
Doing well overall,
I
yeah.
mean, keeping a B average in freshman year, just killing the game in college. Like he's not. I think that I would understand this and be like, okay, this is more relatable if he were, I don't know, like keeping a barely a passing average, head
Yeah,
down, nobody knew who he was,
maybe not
and
taking
yeah,
care of his appearance, maybe just changing
exactly.
things,
But he was
but
very stuck on his appearance. I mean,
yeah,
he
he
was
w he would
like
work
in the
out constantly.
gym.
Mhm.
Yeah. So like it's just really weird to me that like that statement is very odd to me,
Yeah,
just in
some
general.
insecurities happening there. So,
And it
his
almost makes me wonder if that was like the kind of the catalyst for him wanting to go to med school is before all of this started, if there were signs that maybe the family overlooked. Because think about it, like
Mhm,
doctors want to help people, and that
mm.
was where his obsession had started to like spiral into.
I also wondered if somewhere in the freshman year of college, you know how pressure sometimes can break free the mental illness that's there? It maybe never manifested itself until this extreme, pressure, societal pressure, whatever.
Oh, yeah, and you have to think, you have college, you have your college work,
Mhm,
classes, and then on top of that, you add the frat life and the obligations to your fraternity, and,
mhm, mm.
that in itself, I mean,
Could have cracked him a
sorority and
little,
frat life
yeah.
really does, like, add so much
Not just that,
pressure.
but the way you look, the way you act, it just really is relevant.
Oh, yeah, like,
Um,
I can only speak on, like, the pledging on, like, the sorority side, like, for instance, having to look a certain way, having to keep a certain
mm,
appearance. When you wanna smoke a cigarette, you sit down and you cross your ankles like a lady.
mm.
You don't get caught smoking a cigarette in public, or, if you're
Yeah,
out
you would
drinking,
know.
there's a
You
lot.
you dealt with all, like, the debutante stuff and all that, right? I
I
mean,
remember I remember all of it from Ole Miss, all
right,
of
yeah,
it, and I
yeah.
can tell you, like, there's so many rules and so many pressures, so I could see, like, this maybe being the pressure that would, like, drive him to this extreme, but on the other
Mhm.
side of it, I feel like maybe there were signs before that the family just
Possibly,
didn't
I don't know
notice.
that any of us as parents necessarily know those signs, you just never know.
Well, I mean, the
So
thing is like, they don't come with a manual. They don't
mm-mm.
come with an
No, they
owner's
don't.
manual. You don't get to
Trust
say, "This is normal."
mhm.
What's normal for one is not normal for the
May not
other.
be for right, yeah. So
Um,
his behavior continues to spiral, like, psychotically, and his sister, she began locking her bedroom door at night.
Now I wanna know what behavior, like, what was he doing to cause the family to like need to lock the door? Because I couldn't find anything that said like what
Mm.
his specific actions were to make them think this. So part of me is like, are they just kind of overreacting here?
No, I feel like the family, like, I mean, prior to what we're gonna get into, the actual incident itself, prior to that, this family was just unknown. They were not somebody that had a social media presence. Austin did, but nothing major. Um, so when this case broke, I feel like the family just shut up. They were like, "Nope, we're not gonna speak on this." So we're not necessarily getting those, details. A lot of this came from police reports after the fact. So,
Yeah.
but we just kind of have to trust in the fact that there would be something significant for one of us to have to lock our door
Oh,
if our
absolutely.
brother or sister was, so there must have been something significant.
That's what I was curious about. I want to
Mhm,
know like what actions drove this whole
mhm.
locking the door and being scared and all these things, because
Well, I don't
if
know.
your child's coming home and you're scared to leave your door unlocked, there's some
Mhm.
issues that maybe needed to
The
been
only
addressed.
thing I can think is if we're moving forward, we're here, you'll see he began taking interest in religion, and
Well,
he
that'll do
stated
it.
that he was immortal and had superpowers and whatnot.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. Um, so now the family says, okay, we're starting to lock the doors. The sister's like, all right, like my brother's creeping me out. Everybody seems to be finding this erratic behavior to be getting worse. Um,
Mhm. So
and
the other thing,
he
I don't
would
know if
walk
so
through the family
mhm.
home stating he need to guard them as he felt an evil presence.
'Kay, that would make me wanna lock my door, just to say. That's probably why she started locking her door.
That that one could
Mm.
probably do it. I'm not gonna say that it
Mhm.
wouldn't. Eh,
Somebody, your
um,
brother's walking around saying, "There's evil here. I need to guard you. I need to watch you and pace over you." Yeah, I'm locking my door.
I mean, a little weird.
Yeah.
That would be a little strange. I'm not
Mm,
gonna lie.
definitely. Mm,
But then, so days before the murders, we're
mm,
gonna start getting into that. But
mhm,
days before the murders, Austin actually was searching on the internet, and he was searching up like specific phrases And they were searched on like August 10th between like 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. And these are things are like how to relax my mind, auditory hallucinations when falling asleep, schizophrenia. Is it okay to overthink things? Must I sleep? I think I'm going crazy. Am I? How to know if you're going crazy, hearing things in my sleep, obsessive thoughts, exploding head syndrome.
Okay, I gotta stop you right there. I actually knew a person that would type these things in or ask me these things, and you had to cut that friendship off. A little weird.
That friendship
Yeah.
was not going to go anywhere good.
No, that's why I cut that off. Yeah, dude was crazy. So yeah, it's also believed that he hypnotized himself and was searching the internet to learn how to reverse it. So he
So
believed that
I
he actually successfully hypnotized himself.
so okay, okay. Let's go into that theory
Mhm.
for 2 seconds. I'm gonna like hop on and say this. Okay, so when I was in school and I was taking, it was my first year taking like psychology, and one of my professors was a hypnotherapist. Okay, um, PhD, the whole 9 yards. Obviously, he's a very wonderful professor, but he was a
Mm,
hypnotherapist. He believed very much so in like hypnotherapy and hypnopsychiatry and things of that nature.
mhm,
And he believed in the hypnotherapy versus the drugs. So like his thing was is like I can cure you with hypnotherapy versus giving you a mind altering substance. So like
mm.
I personally, this man kind of browbeat me a little bit because I got some
Yeah,
fucking
no, I get it.
crazy family history shit. But
Yeah, I get it.
one of his things was like he always wanted me to take like his hypnotherapy course and let him basically use me as like a guinea pig
Mm,
for his senior class that was like on their thesis and things of that nature, and they were going for the doctorates. And so like I would have been like a rat in a cage for him, basically. And he wanted to go and like open up things that I'm like, hey dude, look, I've already made it this far in my life.
mm.
I've healed enough that I'm not like gonna, take a bath with my toaster. Um,
Right, yeah.
no, I don't think it would be very healthy or conducive. So as far as the hypnotherapy or hypnotizing oneself, we had that conversation. And
Mhm.
is it possible to do like your own like self hypnotizing? Yeah, but you got to really want to like
Mhm.
dive into like some
So,
really deep shit. And
yeah,
I have a
I
hard time thinking that this kid
I know, but
Googled
hold on.
how to do this.
I wanna pause the whole hypnotism conversation, and I wanna revisit that at the end of this because that might lend to some of the theories here, but don't let this not forget. Let's go back to the hypnotism stuff because I think that that might lend some thought, okay? But going on, he was searching what, between August 12th and 13th of 2016 over those keywords.
Yeah. So he was searching in the Google search the word Satan, as
Mm,
well as statements such as what exactly is hell.
mhm,
And there were searches for the biblical figures for Adam and Eve and how to sell his soul to the devil.
mm,
I feel like maybe he should
crazy.
have just Googled Illuminati at this point.
You never know, he might have. Who knows?
He- Rich, at least should have been rich after you sold it. I don't know. But
Mm,
um, then on August 15th, 2016, this is the morning of the murders. So now we have erratic from August 10th. We're googling these statements like talking about like I'm hearing voices or all these things, and now murder. Jump straight to it. Um, Austin goes to his father's home and he goes to pick up the car that he had left there. And his father kind of wanted to like have a discussion with him. He's concerned. He wants to be like, "Hey, son, let's talk."
mhm,
So on, and wants to discuss his sleeping issues and offered him some Valium.
And
Um,
right here, I think that, like we said earlier, no shame to these parents because they don't come with instruction manuals. He's really thinking there's something really going on, but he doesn't believe that it has no indication that it's something so serious that he shouldn't offer him Valium.
yeah.
Like typical college pressures must just have a sleeping issue. Here's some Valium, son. No harm, no foul there. But go on. Sorry. Just wanted to point that out.
So this to me is where it gets. So he throws the Valium, right? Like his dad's like,
Mm.
here, you're having some sleeping issues. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna give you these. Now remember his dad's obviously capable of writing these. It's not like he was black market
Right.
panhandling these
Yeah.
things.
Right.
He knew what he was giving his son. It wasn't like he was
Mhm.
just like here.
Or something off the
And
street. Yeah.
yeah, and so Austin man like just throws him on the ground and is like tells his father that he couldn't control him.
Mhm.
And so the dad is like concerned obviously at this point. And so he took his son's car keys, which caused Austin to go into this insane fit of rage
Mhm.
and starts damaging the car
Just
that he's there
kicking
to
the
pick up.
car, hitting the car. Yeah. But I totally understand, even though he was 18 or 19, of course, taking the keys away is a good idea. I mean,
Oh yeah,
if you know your son's not
100%.
sleeping, he's a danger on the road.
To himself and others.
Mhm. Mhm.
Absolutely. But the thing is so now he flips out and he's like kicking the car and he's acting just erratic. So what does dad do? Give him the keys back. We do
I think
things different
panic.
around here because my kid starts doing that. I'm like, first off, it's your car, dumbass. Number two,
Right.
I'm fixing to level you. Like
I
I'm
probably
talking.
would damage the kid like he damaged the car, just
I
saying,
would,
just
yeah, like
saying.
I would beat my kid's ass. Like
I
let me
I
go and
think
call it like it
so.
is.
I think it's safe to say, and I know it probably isn't a joking matter here, but safe to say that my kids know better than to behave that way. They know that I would cause them great harm.
Exactly.
Literally.
Look, I'm
They
not
know.
gonna pull punches. I'm a Southern mom. I will beat my
Mm,
kid's ass. I don't care if he's 40 or
right.
14.
You know,
Mama will come in the
and
clutch if she
those of
has to.
you that are watching this, go away with your nonsense. We don't wanna hear it.
I don't
Our
care
kids are
what you
very
say. My
successful,
kid has
so
manners. Okay. My kid
mhm,
has
mine do
manners.
too.
So fuck off. There we go.
Right. Yeah, moving on, moving on. So he
So
had told his sister and a friend that he believed he was immortal and
yeah.
half human and half horse.
So this is now as a
Mhm.
parent. I'm not trying to be, I'm judgy, okay?
Right. No, I
But as
agree.
a parent, if my child comes to me and says, "Mom, I think I'm a centaur," and I have to smack my own ass
We're
to run.
gonna have a discussion, a
We
pretty deep one.
we are we are
Perhaps in
loaded
the
up.
psychiatrist's office. Yeah.
We are taking a trip to see the doctor because
Mhm.
something has clearly
But
fucking
see, he
snapped.
told his sister and a friend that. So I'm wondering if these statements even made it back to mom and dad at that time.
That's my thought.
We're
But then
hearing
on the
this
other side,
after uh,
if my I don't know, I mean, if my brother had come to me and told me that, like,
who
if my
knows
brother
where.
now if my brother Pete comes to me, okay, like, I have a twin brother, right? If my twin brother were to
Mhm,
come to me right now and be like, "So, I think I'm half horse."
mhm,
Imma take his big 'cause my brother's a big boy, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, my brother stands, like, 6'5",
mm,
right? And
mhm,
he's, like, big ol' offshore guy, right? Imma take his big ass down. I'm be like,
mhm.
"No, sir." Imma
Right.
hog tie him like he thinks he is half horse. Okay, Imma
Well,
hog tie him, and
we
Imma
just
be like,
have
"We're
to
going to the doctor. We're going to mom. We're going to the doctor."
we have to remember though that not all the people in the world are as feisty as us. We're pretty feisty women, so we know
We
that.
are.
We really are.
I
So I mean, think about
understand.
his sister. We don't really know what age she was, what was the situation. Now, remember, she had indicated that she was afraid of Austin. So
Yeah.
maybe her fears it just shut her down. Like I don't want to hear you. I don't
And I'm
care what you're
wondering if
saying to
she
me.
was like I'm going to assume that she was probably a good bit younger, because
Mhm.
it's no mention of her being in college or anything that
No,
I
nothing like that.
found. So maybe she was a good bit younger. Um,
Mhm.
but I still think it would. If I were her, I would have gone to my parents and been
You would
like,
think. Not
"Hey,
all the family
so
dynamics are the same though, you know? But she did tell him he needed to seek therapy. So, she did tell him
yeah,"
that.
and for good reason, obviously. um,
Right.
just saying, like
Mhm.
for good reason. maybe maybe it would be for the best to say, "Hey, mom, my brother thinks he's half horse.
Mhm.
Can can we like
Can we
just
lock him up? Yeah.
can we talk about this?"
So, if you go forward in our discussion here, you'll see the family ends up getting very frustrated, and they begin discussing the Florida Baker Act. Now, you can read that next statement. What is the Florida Baker Act?
So I actually did some research on this because I wanted to know a little bit more about it for myself. And
Mm,
it actually focuses on crisis services for individuals with mental illness,
mhm,
much like an emergency department. They're experiencing medical emergency.
mm,
And here's what I did find when I went into doing like a little bit of research and a little more in depth. The Baker Act more or less covers people that already have a pre-diagnosed. So like
mhm,
someone that is pre-diagnosed with schizophrenia who's decided, I feel better, I don't need my meds. That's where the Florida Baker Act
mhm.
really comes
Jumps
in.
in, right.
This would not have really been covered so much by this.
And
This
it's
would have been
obvious it wasn't.
responsible for the parents to say, "Hey, my kid needs some fucking help." And then they would have needed to have gone to a medical professional, gotten him some help, and then he would have been
Mhm.
covered if he had a relapse.
Unfortunately, the problem is he was over 18, so they were hoping that the Florida
But
Baker Act would. I
In the state of
know.
Florida, they could still have him committed even though
I
he was
know,
over
but it had
18.
become, a lot of roadblocks, what I've read, like, it
Yeah.
was just so overwhelming, they couldn't do it. No matter how hard they tried, they could not get the help he needed, so,
Yeah.
going forward, we're gonna talk about the evening of the murders. So now we are at the evening. Now remember, in the morning of the murders, he was kicking the hell out of the car because
Yeah,
dad
like
wanted to
he
take the keys away.
attacks the whole car and acts like a loon.
Mhm. 'Cause he
And
hasn't been sleeping.
exactly like he's in a fit of rage. He's erratic, thinks that his dad's trying to control him with Valium. Now he thinks he's half horse. We have
Mhm.
hit peak.
Mhm. And that's why this evening things go really, really bad. So,
So Austin is at a popular restaurant called Duffy's Sports Grill, which I've been to, by the way,
mhm,
with
mhm,
his family. And according to his family, he left twice. Now, his father reported that he'd gone to the restroom the first time and did not return.
mhm.
So he did come and end up on his mother's doorstep when she was making dinner. So I'm trying to figure out when did they go to the restaurant versus she's making
No,
dinner.
no, no. So
So
mom and dad are divorced.
okay, so
So
he's with
he's
dad.
with dad and
Okay,
probably
because that wasn't
sister and
specified.
yeah, maybe whomever dad is with now or whatever. Their little family dinner. So then he leaves and goes to his mom's house. So
Okay, so that
mom and
wasn't
dad are
specified. I was like,
still
did everybody get
yeah,
together because he was like getting
yeah,
ready to go back to college?
right.
Because I mean, I know if you're like co-parenting
Mhm.
and getting along, there'll be parents that do that. Like every
Sometimes.
so I
But
kind of
when
wondered at first when I
yeah.
read it, was it like mom, dad, their spouses?
Mm. Mom does take him back, but wait until you find out what he did when he arrived at mom's house. 'Cause
So
mhm,
when in his mother's home after disappearing, um, he was attempting to drink cooking oil from the bottle.
mhm.
Then she stopped him. And then he
Like
decided to eat
Wesson's cooking oil.
yeah,
That's just
just like
insane.
straight vegetable oil, just
Mhm. Yep.
canola. Um, and then he decided to like eat just straight Parmesan cheese. Now I'm not really gonna
Mhm.
hate on that because I like cheese.
Yeah, me too, but when you're
Um,
trying to eat cooking oil and Parmesan cheese, I'm not sure
they
what's
don't
going
really
on
go
there.
together. But
No.
she did offer him a ride back to Duffy's, and he accepted. So during the encounter, Austin's mother actually called the police and made a report about this because
Mhm.
now she's like, wait a minute, like
And I
shit's
think what I remember is they were advised to start calling the police and make those paper trails
yes,
so that they
in
could
order to get
do
help
right.
from
So
things like the Baker Act.
mhm,
Um, Now during this ride, his mother is discussing counseling and talking about the options and things like that. He agrees that he'd go. He said, "Yes, I'll go." So once they get back to Duffy's, he and his father fight. Now I'm starting. I'm gonna say this. It seems that his dad may be a huge trigger for him.
I feel like there could have been something there. I know I'm not saying that dad is bad or anything's wrong with dad, but,
No, I think that the dad's
like,
a
there's
trigger
some
for
kind of
him
a
for
weird
some reason.
dynamic.
Like
Yeah, like
maybe dad was harder on him than mom was.
well, I think we are,
Daddy's little
sometimes
girl, mom's little
yeah.
boy.
Sometimes
It
that happens.
happens.
Yeah.
Um, so him and his father obviously get into it. They fight. His father insists on knowing what Austin was doing when he wouldn't respond. So his
Mhm,
father grabs him by the collar of his shirt, causing Austin to leave the restaurant again. So
mm,
Austin's sister described him as aggressive and threatening during the dinner at Duffy's. Like everybody was apparently kind of walking on eggshells at this
mm,
dinner. Like he's at the table and everybody's kind of like, can we like say
yeah, we don't wanna get beat up.
anything? We don't
Yeah.
want to provoke him. So clearly the behaviors have become so erratic that everybody around is just really on edge with him being in their presence.
Mhm. Now he leaves the restaurant, and that night, he never went home. He would
So
actually never ever go home again.
no, because now
So
it's like I said, it's important to note that he's still to this point not sleeping at all.
mhm,
Now friends said that he may have been using like marijuana to help him sleep, but no other drugs. They were clearly he didn't take the Valium. He threw that on the
yeah,
ground.
no.
So
Yeah.
maybe he was in this like feeling like maybe he's like gonna do this holistic thing and you know the perks of the
Mm,
green. I mean, I'm a full believer in like the green is fine.
agreed. Mhm,
So maybe he was like, I'm gonna take this holistic approach. I think that the two parts of his brain, one part was like, I really want to be better, and the other part was like acting
mm,
like he's a half horse and he's erratic and he's crazy, but like
right.
he still had enough sense to know I'm not sleeping, I'm not acting normal, I'm googling these things because clearly I know that there's something wrong with me. Now, if
Mhm.
he had enough intelligence to do these things, why did he not maybe progress and go get help himself? That is a question
We
that
know
I
that
have
there's
had.
yeah, I think that, like, people with major mental illness, schizophrenia, they don't believe that they have anything wrong.
Well, he clearly knew
Serial
something was
killers
wrong
don't
by his
believe they're
googling.
huh?
I think that he really did know something was wrong by what he was googling and the phrases.
Perhaps,
So
but the brain is just a different
I think
it's a strange
there
thing.
were two sides that was like fighting.
The angel and the devil, kinda thing.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
before these slayings occur, he's wandering around. We're assuming he's wandering around neighborhoods because there's no actual statements on where he was. He left that restaurant and he's just wandering about. All the while he's typing internet searches again. What were those? So they're
uh,
from
let's see. Uh, Centaurs, once again, half horse, half human. Um, he's
Satan
looking up
and murder.
phrases like what's the weakest thing about a centaur? What's the biggest help to a centaur?
Prior to that, up above, you'll see the
Oh,
murders, the pursuit of
yeah.
happiness.
Oh
Um,
yeah, and he also Satan and must I sleep? I think I'm
hmm,
going crazy. What am I? How to know if you're going crazy? Can we really control more than we think? What is white magic? See, now y'all got to drag the witches into it.
right, yeah.
He
Um,
even searched up the murderer, um,
Paul Michael
Paul
Meriget or something like that.
Mariche,
Mm,
who had actually killed 4 of his family members and injured 3 others. So, like, this guy was really, really, really
Yeah, he was out
online.
there.
Um,
So, at one point, he finds himself wandering around the streets near Southeast Kokomo Lane.
I don't think that's the Kokomo the Beach Boys wanted to go
Yeah,
to.
no, definitely not. But the individuals he encountered definitely had the vibe of Kokomo, you'll see.
Way down in Kokomo.
Mhm. Anyway, these
Um,
guys. Mhm.
so like I still go back to I think the dad might have been a trigger for him for some reason.
Definitely. Mhm.
But on the evening that all of this the issues with Austin at the restaurant and
Mhm.
um at Duffy's, Josh Stevens, 59, and
John Stevens.
Michelle Michon, 53, are in their garage, minding their own business.
Mhm.
Um, John and Michelle had situated their garage as kind of like a hangout spot. It was like a man cave,
Some
chairs,
people
a
have described
TV.
it what they called as a garage mahal, like this
Yeah,
epic, amazing garage. So,
yeah. Like
yeah.
they had. I actually found pictures of it, and I was like, "It's actually." If my garage wasn't full of mud toys and
Hmm.
mud
Yeah.
toys, we we would probably do that. But yeah. So
Yeah.
like they're out here just hanging out, they're vibing, they're having a good time. You're in South Florida, the weather is wonderful.
Mhm.
They are just minding their own business.
Mhm. Neighbors would say that the 2 of them would
Um,
have their drinks in their garage, wave to people. They'd
and
watch a
apparently they had
TV.
they entertained guests quite a bit. They had a lot of people
Mhm.
over at different times. They were just very social. They were a very social couple.
Mhm.
And from what the neighbors did say is they were well liked. They made a point to
Mhm.
speak to everybody, wave to everybody, offer everybody a cocktail.
Mhm.
Just super down home, nice people. So here they are minding their business in their garage mahal. They've got their music on and they're just
Mhm.
garage doors open. And so then there's Austin, who has been wandering throughout the area on the way back to his father's home. He approaches their garage, enters, and just begins beating these two poor victims. Um, they were like
Yeah.
unfortunate, wrong place, wrong time. I mean, they're in their home or in their garage, minding their own business in their own home. And in comes this guy, and he just starts beating these two
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
And so
Now,
one of the
right
neighbors,
right here, hold on. Before we go further, we're just gonna go ahead and give you guys a trigger warning again. If you have a weak stomach, you don't like this kind of situation, end it now. Turn us off now because it's about to get really,
this
really
is
gruesome.
where it
Very gruesome.
goes
So,
south.
yeah, I feel strongly that Austin's attention was drawn to them because their garage door was open, like you said, South Florida, very, very
Music
warm.
playing.
Something
It
attracted
would
them.
attract that.
Mhm,
If I'm walking by and your garage is open, you got music going, you're having some drinks, and
mhm.
I'm gonna walk by and be like, hey. But
But in
this
this
would have been
case,
him being like prime target.
it was like a moth to a flame, him being the moth,
Exactly.
and he sees this and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go check this out. I'm gonna go." He was already in some weird sleep depraved rage, so.
And psychologically, a human's body can only go so long without sleep before you do set up
Mm,
hallucinations and you will start hearing if prime example, I mean, if you've never watched it, go watch Nightmare on Elm Street. There's Even though it
mhm.
was an old movie and it's a horror classic, it
Or
shows you what you're
you could
on
go to,
unexplained
yeah,
realm.
unexplained realms, the sleep murders. That was one of the last episodes I did, so that one
And
talks
I
about
can't
sleep
wait.
deprivation.
That one's gonna be awesome to
Yeah,
get
that
an
one was
update
fun to do.
on.
So, also, these individuals' home was on the actual route back to Austin's dad's house.
Yeah, they were just like
So,
wrong place, wrong time,
absolutely.
unfortunately.
So
And
going forward, you were talking about a neighbor.
so a neighbor, Jeff Fisher, hears screams. Okay. So he's like awakened out of a dead sleep and he hears screams. He looks
Mm,
out and he sees an agitated Austin slamming Michelle's car door, entering the garage, grabbing Michelle, and then throwing her to the ground. During this attack, he has stabbed the couple. At one point, he drank something hazardous,
And again,
um,
I'm not sure if that was
some chemical
gasoline or they
garage,
said, gasoline
maybe a
or,
household cleaner,
pesticides.
like maybe a
Mm,
cleaner. I don't,
maybe, but
um,
they think maybe it might have been pesticides, I'm not sure.
quite
Anyway.
possibly. But
Mhm.
the neighbor Jeff attempts to intervene and is also attacked and injured. So he retreats and says, I'm just going to call the cops. Like, I'm in over my head.
He runs back to his
So
house,
he
yeah.
goes back to his house. He calls the authorities and he's like, hey, my neighbors are in trouble. I need you here, like, right now. And by the time the police arrived, so it takes 4 officers and a canine dog to remove Austin from John Stevens. Officers found him, trigger warning again, entangled with his victim, making animal noises and aggressively biting the victim's face, only wearing underwear.
Mhm.
I, the officer actually
Mhm.
remembers, and this is what the officer stated. He had John Stevens in a side mount grappling hold, legs intertwined, arms wrapped around the male, and he had his fingers in a fish hook in his mouth, pulling his face, trying to physically pull this man's cheeks apart.
Yeah, pretty gruesome, really
Where
gruesome. And the pictures that I'm gonna throw up here on the screen, they are pretty gruesome, so, again, look away, turn us off, walk away, whatever. So, um, yeah, just
can you imagine
like I
being the
said,
officers that respond to that?
yeah, I couldn't even like I said, when I first wrote this case, it was for a magazine and, I lost some sleep. I couldn't eat. The images just wouldn't leave. And so I was asked to do this case multiple times writing, and finally I was able to do it without, the
Being
thoughts. So
sick
yeah, we're good now. I don't know. We'll see how long, but we're good for now. But yeah,
for now. There'll
um,
be another one, I'm sure, that'll get it.
yeah,
All of these cases get us in some way,
yeah.
though. They
So
always
law
have.
enforcement used a taser on Austin, but it did not phase him at all.
Now, I can tell you from personal experience, I've watched people get taser certified.
Mhm.
I've watched people get tased at my job when they
Mm,
want to be ignorant. Now I did have an ex who was a pro fighter, and I watched him get tased twice in one night, and he pulled the leads out and told him they needed more than that. And one of the cops looked at me. He said, "Good luck with that, honey," and walked off.
wow.
But we all knew each other, and I ended up getting his big ass in the car. But I've
Mm,
seen, I mean, these things could put down a bull,
right.
and you're saying it doesn't phase him. He's just
Mhm.
out of his.
Now the worst
Once again,
part
this
of
lack of sleep, though,
mhm,
the
the worst
mind has
part of
gone
this
off the rails.
the worst part of this is that John Stevens is still alive during this attack.
Yes, he's
Michelle is
still
dead at
alive
this point, but John is screaming for the officers to help him while
because
Austin's eating his
it's
face.
cannibalizing his face.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so officers actually witnessed Austin growl like an animal and spit out chunks of flesh and go back to biting more and ripping chunks of flesh off this man's face with
Mhm.
his teeth. The officers were able to end the attack by overpowering him and using a canine. Both John and Michelle had died. Jeff was transported to treat his stab wound, and Austin was also transferred to the hospital. Now, once officers removed him from the victim, Austin stated he had eaten something bad and was sick and said he deserved to die and
Mm.
proceeded to beg the officers to kill him.
Mhm.
And officers actually stated that they could see pieces of the victim's flesh in his teeth.
Oh,
So
Interesting.
after his arrival at the hospital, it became clear that he obviously had
Mhm.
ingested something toxic from the garage, possibly gasoline or an insecticide, as
Mhm.
his kidneys and liver um, starts to fail.
Mhm. They
So
start to
it's
shut down.
yeah, his organs start to shut down, and then it's reported that he had pneumonia and one thumb was almost severed off. I don't really know how he severed his finger unless he bit it himself,
Well, I
maybe.
think that there were things inside that garage where he had, more he stabbed someone, so he must have had a knife. Obviously,
Maybe
he might have
very
killed himself.
clearly hurt himself.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. As far as pneumonia, what pneumonia technically is fluid in the lungs. So when he drank whatever he drank, I think it went into the lungs. So
yes.
which would create a pneumonia situation. So
And now this is interesting to me because Grant and I have a friend. It's Grant's best friend. They grew up together. So the next part, I'm going to touch on that a little bit. Austin was tested for multiple drugs,
mhm,
including Flocka, which
Flocka.
is actually
Mhm,
known as crocodile,
mhm,
and bath salts, cocaine.
mhm.
Look, I've seen people on cocaine. I've never seen
Oh
them go
yeah,
cannibal,
yeah. You never know though. So I think they
but
just
he did
tested for
test
everything.
negative for everything.
Mhm, mhm.
But he did have traces of marijuana and alcohol in his system. Now the Flocka thing, so we have Grant's best friend is a doctor, and he worked at a hospital in Colorado, and Flocka crocodile. It was
Mhm.
super rampant up there. And he would tell us some stories, and I'm going to tell you now what this guy did is extreme. I mean, this is like crocodile type shit, really.
Mhm.
Um, but that would explain if he had used it prior, even though it was negative in the drug test because it doesn't stay in your system that long for a test, that would actually explain why he went nuts. So because that stuff like damages your brain
Mhm.
on one use, and it actually is
Right.
called the zombie drug. One good use, and basically you can be like this kind of crazy for the rest of your life. So
Right.
I think it's hard to rule out and say yes, he was
Well, they're
on it
saying
at
there
some
was
point,
no
or no, he
traces.
wasn't.
So there was no traces in toxicology. So hard to say. And he denied ever using substances. So hard to say. Um so
Um, I don't know.
after
The
these
bath
murders,
salts thing,
oh,
Florida obviously was popular with bath salts because somebody
maybe
did try to eat somebody's face on a Florida beach.
I remember that, yeah.
But I do think that Flocka could very well
Right.
had a played a part in this. I think
But
maybe his frat brothers might have
okay,
got him to try it and nobody
but
knew.
the problem with that is that it never showed up. And this was immediately after the crime, they tested him, immediately after the
Yeah,
crime.
but here's the thing though. The way that it eats your brain, from what I understood from talking to some to other people about this or whatever, was basically it does the damage over time, and then your brain basically over time just deteriorates. And so like it is constantly like eating
Mm,
even though it's out of your system. So he very well could have tried this, and the experience that he had
I don't know.
could have
I
led to it.
agree.
And then the lack of sleep could have pushed it over the
I
edge.
totally understand and
Not
agree,
saying it did.
but
Uh,
again, there are scientists and different people that have actually who is it? Let me find his name. Dr. Gary Landrum performed psychological exams, and they firmly believed that no drugs had any factor in it. So,
I think,
um,
like I said, I'm not going to say that it did. I'm not going to say it didn't. I
right,
think that
yeah.
it's something that they obviously, yeah, they looked at and they tested for it, but I I really think that I don't think that he hypnotized himself and made himself
Oh,
believe that he
no.
was half
Well, that's what we
horse.
were gonna revisit there. I wondered
Um,
about that potentially, like, could he have, you know,
could he?
like,
Yes. You
maybe,
can go, I mean, you can go
um
online and look up some of the world renowned hypnotherapists and look at their techniques. And you could probably, I mean, you could self train to become a hypnotherapist or to do like hypnosis on people and even on yourself. I mean, it's completely possible, I guess, in the realm of
mm,
things that you could teach yourself. But I feel like there was some serious like shit at play here that
mhm,
wasn't, I don't think it was all just a mental illness. I think there was something that pushed him over the edge.
absolutely, yeah,
And that's what
um,
I want to know. Is like what could drive someone that
right.
far?
I actually got my hands on, oh gosh, the actual report that came from, oh my gosh, if I can find it, from that doctor himself. Um, if they go to unexplainedrealms.com, find the Austin Harrouff story, the link to the examiner's findings is there. So,
Yes.
yeah, Gregory Landrum performed a psychological exam on Austin, and the findings are pretty shocking. You'll have to read that to kind of get into it. But moving on, within that report, Austin only remembers a piece of the night of the murders, and it comes directly from that report. I don't know. Do you want to read that statement from the report?
Well, so you have the report, and then also Austin and his father. So we're gonna go back a little bit, even
Hmm.
into like getting into the report and all these things. So Austin and his father actually did appear on the Dr. Phil show,
Mm, they did. You're right. Yep.
and
Mm-hmm.
that was in March of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a super duper edited version released to the public.
Mm-hmm.
There is actually more to that interview than what the public saw. And the court ordered all the tapes to be released to the court for review as there would be key points to determine the
Mm-hmm.
case. Now, an attorney for Austin indicated that the differences in the unedited videos came from her client being gravely ill and on multiple medications. So
I don't
there's
know.
another.
Mhm.
I would love to have been able to see the actual
I
original
don't
tape.
think those have ever been released to the
I
public.
haven't. I have looked
Mm,
everywhere. If they were
you
to
can
be
actually
found,
see the original edited Dr. Phil one, and even that one bothered me. It just didn't seem right. Didn't seem He just seemed to take no responsibility because his claim was, "I don't remember. If I don't remember it, I can't
I
take
don't.
responsibility for it."
Well, that's the thing. So that was his whole argument. I just don't remember. I just
Mhm,
don't remember. I,
mhm, mhm.
nah, come on, like
Yeah.
that's the Clinton take. I do not recall. I do not recall.
Yeah, right.
Um, so 2 years later, in
Mhm,
August of 2018, the family of Michonne actually filed a civil suit against Austin.
mhm,
And in 2020, Dr. Gregory Landrum performed a psychological exam on him. The
mhm.
findings are shocking. Like you said, you'll be able to find all of those um, at unexplainedrealms.com. You
Yeah,
go
just
find
go
this
look at the Austin
episode.
Harrouff story and you'll be able to see
And
that.
so if he can say, I remember bits and pieces of that night, he remembers more than what he said on anything else. I'm sorry.
Mm, agreed.
Um, Now, on Monday, August 15th, the day of the murders, Mr. Harrouff recalls putting on a Michael Vick jersey,
Mhm.
which he believed that dog spirits told me to put it on.
Now
And in
this
doing
comes
so,
directly from
felt
the psychological
invincible.
report. Yeah, this comes directly from that psychological report. So,
Yes.
yeah, he felt invincible with his Mike Victor
Michael Vick.
jersey.
Like, of all
Mhm.
the people to go for Michael Vick, that guy's a piece of shit.
Right, but yeah.
Well, even if I was on
Um,
Team Austin today, you're done now. Like,
yeah,
but
yeah.
then He recalls buying a Fitbit and that he felt like a Terminator.
Mm.
Listen, I wear an Apple Watch every day. Okay, now I'm going to show my age here real quick. I wear an Apple Watch every single day. All right. And I feel like my Apple Watch is like keeping a fucking Tamagotchi alive, but
Mhm.
I'm the
Oh my god, yeah.
Tamagotchi
Right,
because
pretty much.
mine tells me when to breathe and
Oh my god, it tells you when to
but
breathe, when to stand up, when to move. Jeez.
but never have I been like I feel like a Terminator. I
Yeah,
feel like
no.
I'm keeping my own Tamagotchi alive, and I'm the Tamagotchi.
I feel like
Okay,
my smartwatch makes me feel old. It's like, "Bitch, breathe. You're not
I'm
breathing
like,
right," you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
it
So
tells
I
me when to
don't.
breathe, when to
Mhm,
move, when to, yeah.
So yeah.
So
Anyway, he went to where did he go? Mr. Harrouff
he
reports
went to the beach and while petting dogs, observed that the dog hair was blowing on his face and body, and he felt a special connection. So how do we
mhm.
go from dogs to centaurs?
I
He
know.
also reports that he went to his frat brother's house earlier in the evening and that they wanted him to smoke and drink. And he
That would
refills,
explain the small amounts of marijuana and alcohol in his system. Mm.
and he said he recalls feeling super hype. Bro, ain't
Mm.
nobody ever smoked weed and been like, I want to run a race unless they were chasing a fucking bag of Funyuns and a Mountain Dew down a hill.
Maybe, yeah. No.
I'm just saying, you don't smoke weed and then go run a
Bounce
fucking
around. Yeah,
5K.
no. Mm-mm. No.
Um, but he says he was super hype and he indicated that he poured beer on his hand and he
Mhm.
believed he was at the party for about an hour, but then he denied any drug or alcohol usage. Now, while at Duffy's restaurant with his father, he stated that he felt as if time was standing still and like he was the Grim Reaper. Bro,
Yeah,
you
all of
got more
his statements.
personalities than I do.
Mhm.
Calm yourself.
Mhm.
Um, Now, he indicates that he does not recall running to his mother's house, drinking cooking oil, but he did recall that his mother wanted him to return to Duffy's. So you don't remember going to your mom's, but you remember going to your mom's.
Yeah, it's very inconsistent, so I
Okay,
don't
so I'm
know.
not the only one that finds the
I
inconsistency
like I
here.
said, I read this report and I was, like, kind of taken back by a lot of the, back and forth statements, contradictory statements, so
Then he says he left the restaurant. So his mom takes him back. Then he
mhm.
says he left Duffy's with his father.
Oh, no, he got
Um,
in a confrontation with
no,
his
he
father
got in the
too, though. Yeah.
confrontation. Yeah. So then he reports that he left the restaurant and he was running to his father's house and following the stars.
Mhm.
Okay, Christopher Columbus.
Mhm.
Um, and then he's hearing voices in his head that said, I am sin, I am in control. Then he reports that he saw a figure that he perceived as having a white face in black clothes that frightened him. Baby, we all saw Scream. We all know that
Mhm.
mask. You're
Yeah.
describing the Scream mask.
Once you
Um,
finish this statement, I have thoughts, but go ahead.
he then recalled seeing a light, which he ran toward while crying out. And then he remembers having a machete in his hand and stabbing her. And it was like she was covered in darkness. He also remembers seeing a man like he was glowing white. Okay, Casper.
Mm.
Now, he also remembers drinking a bottle of liquid and calling out to God to save him. He remembers stabbing the man with a machete, falling to the floor, and putting a dog in a white truck for safety. And also recalls having a machete in his mouth and biting. He
Mm.
reported that he felt like a dog. Austin reports that he then blacked out, and the next thing he recalled was waking up in the hospital.
Yeah. Um, Again, in this report, there's toxicology, and it's no evidence of any drugs in his system. And so, with that toxicology, the courts just deemed him completely insane, stating he had a psychotic break.
I'm gonna be an
So,
asshole.
that's my question, though, was how do I say this? Sleep deprivation with schizophrenia and delusions of grandeur. I mean, could those all have created this mess, or was there something else?
I'm gonna okay. I'm gonna be like the asshole for 2 seconds. All right, because we
Hmm.
all know that I'm the mean one on the show.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say this. I don't think he had a psychotic break. I think that a lot of this shit he faked. He already knew that people found him a little quirky. I think that he wanted to commit murder.
Maybe.
I really do. I think that
Mhm.
he wanted to see what it was like, and he found the way to do it and get away with it. And I think that some of the research that he did helped him know what to say and how to
Possibly.
say it and how to act to
Hmm.
because here's the thing. Okay, here is a prime example. There is an episode of Law and Order that
Hmm.
I will relate to this all the time when you talk about certain things, especially people who are sociopaths.
Hmm.
Okay, so there's an episode of Law and Order. It's like years ago.
Right.
It's in like the first or I don't know, maybe like fourth season. I don't remember the season.
Hmm.
Anyways, this kid kills another kid, shoves rocks down his throat, right? Says he doesn't know what he's doing. He's a little kid. They put him on trial. It's this whole thing. All right. The kid that he killed, the dad
Hmm.
is a psychiatrist. All right. And so
Hmm.
he watches the kid give his testimony on stand. And apparently this kid, like they knew each other, they played together or whatever. But anyways, so the dad watches this his testimony on trial and the dad kills this kid, right?
Hmm.
And they put him on the stand and he said, I killed him because he would kill again. I won't. He was a fucking sociopath. The kid knew what to
Right.
say and he knew how to emulate
Hmm.
different emotions that he watched. So if the people around him were crying, then he was sad.
Right. Now, one of the things I found very interesting, are you making eyes at the super fan over there?
I am. I can hear
uh,
him though.
well, one of the things I found very interesting, we got to wrap this up pretty soon. We're at the hour mark or a little over. Remember when he was looking up Paul Michael Meriger, this murderer? Guess where he was from? Jupiter,
Oh,
Florida.
I was fixing to say I would take a guess and say Jupiter, Florida or Florida.
Yeah, and he killed his family members at Thanksgiving Day on Thanksgiving dinner in a shooting rampage. Just walked in, started shooting everybody. And what they know is he's apparently still at large. But what they know is that he had ongoing resentment toward family members. And remember what you said about his father, Austin may have had some resentment or some triggered issues with
I feel like
dad.
there was some daddy issue triggering.
Mhm.
This is
So,
I'm not saying that I'm an expert on anything, obviously, but I do
mhm,
think, and I remember basis of like psychology here. There's just certain things in this case that doing the research that I've done and the stuff that we've read and
mhm,
everything that we've gone over, I think that this kid set himself up for the perfect crime.
agreed. Maybe.
Jeffrey
It's
Dahmer was
very
a fucking
possible.
cannibal. I mean,
Mhm.
people act like this. It's something that happens. Maybe he had a like thing where he says, "Okay, I want to be a cannibal. I want to try it. Whatever." Do I think that maybe he wasn't sleeping? Quite possibly.
Oh, absolutely. I think that
Do I
lent
think
to
that
whatever was going on.
that might have progressed? But I think that I feel like a Terminator. I feel connected to the dogs because of a Michael Vick sweater. I think I'm a fucking centaur. I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm a fucking unicorn. I was following the stars. Okay, Dora the Explorer. I,
Mhm.
there's a hard line. Some of these people that are in prison now or are locked up in institutions for the criminally insane, um, genuinely did need extensive help, and the system failed them.
Mhm.
And that is what caused them to have these psychotic breaks and to commit some of the heinous crimes that they did commit. Doesn't make them any less guilty,
Right.
but the
Agreed.
system did fail them. I think
Mhm.
that a lot of this, number one, falls on mommy and daddy.
Mm.
Okay, number one, because you did think that there were these things going on. So you only made one report when realistically you should have been actively not talking to this kid about counseling. load him up and take him to the fucking emergency room and say he's a danger to others and
I think I
himself.
remember thinking that when I was doing this case, the multiple times I've written it for different publications, I remember thinking, like, if it was my kid, I probably would have just loaded their ass up and that would have been the end of it. Um,
Exactly. So I think
you
that
know
when you look at different aspects and different avenues of cases, especially ones that are like this, okay,
Mm.
I think when you look at cases like this, and then you look at other cases that have like people that have had these psychotic breaks and these things that have happened, there is a
Mm,
certain semblance of empathy that you will feel towards someone that you specifically know the system did fail them. I think that a lot of this, like they're talking about, they filed, the family filed a civil suit. I'd have
mm,
filed it against the whole family because I think mommy and daddy
yeah.
dropped the ball. I think that if the dad was giving him fucking Valium, you don't give somebody Valium to sleep. You think there's something
Especially
fucking wrong.
if you suspect mental illness, you definitely don't wanna give them any chemicals. So,
Exactly.
um,
Mind altering substances.
right.
And so
Mhm,
there's a list of things that tell me there's way more at play here. I think that the kid got an easy out.
mhm,
And I really do think that does he probably have obviously some underlying psychological issues?
mhm,
Absolutely, because you have to have psychological issues to commit the crimes that he committed.
mhm.
But I also think he's a really good manipulator and a liar.
I think that's where we leave this one kind of just unanswered, completely not we just don't know. But like I said, we need to wrap this up, so I wanna let people know what'll be on your screen shortly is, mental health is very fragile and important, so here's the 24-hour hotline. It's free and completely confidential. If you have depression, anxiety, mental health crisis, or somebody that you know does, go ahead and give this number a call. Okay.
And thanks everybody for tuning in to another episode here at Cocktails and Crimes. Huge shout out to Anne over at Unexplained Realms. We love her so much. I'm so glad that she's been holding everything down over here for all of us. And a huge shout out to our third and our favorite and our
She better
wonderful
come
best
back.
friend.
Like,
It's time for her to come back.
yeah, back.
So we love her and we miss her. And once again, a huge shout out to our sponsors over at George Street Tavern, and Imperial Nutrition. I did not forget about you guys. That's where we
Mm,
start the day. Tavern's where we end the night.
mhm.
Go in, see Miss Ann or see Patricia. That confuses me because Patricia
It
is
does.
my girl at Galaxy, or at Imperial Nutrition. Go see her, get your loaded tea, tell her I sent you, get a Cocktails and Crime discount on merchandise in the store, and get your Cocktails and Crime punch card so that when you buy 5 teas, your sixth one is free.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, guys. Well, I think now that we've covered our sponsors, we've covered our merchandise, you can always buy us a cocktail. Um, but you know what? I think it is time for everyone, including myself and Ann, to go enjoy our cocktails. And we have to go dig up some more crime for you. And boy, do we have some good ones that we are waiting on. And I cannot wait to bring to you guys. So until next time, thank you so much from everyone here at Cocktails and Crimes. We really appreciate all the love and all the support. And we can't wait to see you again. Bye.